We do have a quorum here. We do have Councilman Huerta. He's place one. He won't be present today. And then Councilman place five, Councilman Candela. Keep her father in your prayers because he's really ill right now and he's in the hospital. So she won't be present either. So I'm going to move forward and please, if you have your cell phones, just go ahead and put them on mute. If you have to answer a call or anything, please just step outside and come back in. You won't interrupt anything. I'm going to move and declare a quorum here. We do have three council members here. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. Do we have anybody making public comments? Nobody? Okay. We have our new judge. She will be our new judge coming in here, Enriqueta Morales. So she is in the section 3, but I'm going to go ahead and move Ms. Judge Morales up and swear her in so she can go ahead and not have to sit through all the, financial stuff that we're going to be talking to. So if you could please come up front, Judge. Step out here with you. If you could raise your right hand, please. I, Enriqueta V. Morales, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of municipal judge for the city of Odem,
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of municipal judge for the city of Odem, of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
If you could, we will have you sign right here. Do you have a pen to sign? If not, I have. It's okay.
I'm going to take a picture. I want a picture.
Judge, if you could just sign right here. Sign.
Oh, good. That's not on my warrant. Yep. You do a second copy.
I do. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was under there. Here we go.
Okay.
This pen is yours.
Mary will stamp your signature.
All right, we'll go ahead and
You want the first one?
I'll sign it. I'll just re-sign it. That's fine.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome. Thank you.
Stamp, please.
Thank you so much.
We will see you soon.
Yes,
We've got a lot for you to do. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. So as many of y'all know, we've been without a judge here for several months. And now that we have a judge in place, we can start addressing some of these outstanding court issues and cases that have been outstanding. So I'm pretty excited to finally have a judge on board. So we're going to move back to Roman numeral 2, discussion and action items to be considered. There are going to be 3 items to discuss and take action on. The first one is item A, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the following regarding a citywide remote meter project. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the following, I guess, A1 and 2, or
Well, just this first one, A.
a resolution for the government capital.
I have a motion by Councilman Falcon. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Councilman Dominguez. We have a motion to approve the following regarding a citywide remote meter project by Councilman Falcon, second by Councilman Dominguez. We'll move on to any discussion. Mr. Bain,
Are they here? Yeah.
they are here. Let me just kind of read through some real quick. Well, I wouldn't say real quick, but it's some notes here. As part of the budget preparation for 24-25, it was learned that approximately 200 of the city's 1,500 customer meters were not functioning. This has forced staff to simply estimate consumption in order to prepare monthly billing. In addition, it has been determined that it takes more than 10 days after meters are initially read to get the billing batch processed and mailed. A cost estimate of $765,150.92 was obtained from HydroPro Solutions on June 4th to replace all customer meters, to install AMR system for streamlining the utility billing process. As a buy-board acquisition, a 2% processing fee of $15,791.78 needed to be added. In addition, it was suggested that the contractor could conduct the TECQ required lead line audit while performing the meter installations, which they are going to be able to do that for us. Those additions brought the HydroPro total contract price to $805,380.69. In addition to the HydroPro contract, a contract will be necessary to accomplish the interface with the city's Encode system. Staff sought financing from government capital, as well as several other financial institutions, including the Texas Water Development Board. However, only GovCap is willing to consider the financing of the project, and only if the city will contribute $200,000 as a down payment towards the project. These funds appear to be available within the 23-24 budget. The GovCap financing proposal includes a rate of 7.375% with annual payment amounts of $49,269.30 for phase 1 and $48,310.11 for phase 2. A total of $120,000 was included in the fiscal year 24-25 approved budget for this project. And unless the city can identify another source for funding phase 3 of the project, the funding will be initiated with government capital in the fall of 2025 to be funded January of 2026 with the city, when the city will again be eligible for another small ticket program loan. The rate will be set at that time, and if the city makes progress towards its annual financial reports and audits, the rate should be less. So in a nutshell, we tried to reach out to other entities as well as try to get a grant from the Texas Water Development Board. And because of the lack of audits and our financial history, the only one that was willing to work with us was government capital. Obviously, the interest rate is a little high, but we're hoping that we can get our other audits. They did specify that once our audits, we get the other audits done, that we could potentially look at the interest rate coming down a little. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So anybody have any questions on this first motion to approve a remote meter project.
So I heard you correct, y'all added, we had to add 40,000? Or is that not, is it
Approximately.
approximately 40,000?
Approximately.
Because of the 2% buy board participation fee,
Okay,
as well as the lead line inventory. That's not actually part of the meter project, but while those guys are replacing the meters, it's the perfect time to conduct that inventory. That's a TECQ required project, and actually, I think our due date was
Next month, October 16th.
October 16th.
Well,
So we're not gonna make that deadline, unfortunately. But as part of the meter program, and so long as we are showing progress towards the lead line inventory, we should not be subject to fines, because everyone in the state of Texas is struggling to get the lead line inventory done. Keep in mind, the lead line issue is actually something for places like in Massachusetts and Connecticut, places where they actually used to use lead in their pipes. If we have a single lead pipe in this town, I would be surprised. Nonetheless, we have to go through the process. And so part of the additional increase from 765,000 to the final numbers as provided by Hydroflow included the lead line inventory. Now, you have a staff person here who is anxious to try to demonstrate his value and to do it himself. And I'm trying to talk him into letting them do it, so that two different people are not going into that hole twice.
And I know that we did look at, because I think Councilman Falcon had brought up that concern about the lead line inventory, and we did look at other possibilities, but the cost, I mean, it was much cheaper to just go with these guys since they were already going to be in the process of installing the new meters. So, I mean, it was just better for us in the city as a whole to just kind of move forward with them as well.
so who's coming up with who's coming up with the interest rate?
That's actually established by Prime. It's a Wall Street number that GovCap has for the small ticket item. Perhaps we should talk about the small ticket program that they have. They don't require audits. There is a limitation of $200,000 per calendar year. If you might, please turn to.
Well, I think that before we move on, I mean, we need to go ahead and get approved the meter project first before we kind of move on to
Very
the
well.
financial part.
An additional cost that was added to it has to do with the fact that the meters themselves and their programs needs to interface with your financial accounting package. Therein lies the $10,000 estimate that was added from Encode. We just got that quote yesterday, things like that. But so all in all, what you have is now a plan for a complete meter replacement program, including the interface with your financial system. Part of that interface, and I'll let the vendor representative, Mr. Trevino, speak to it in more detail if the council's interested. But for instance, customers will be able to see their own consumption.
Right.
Okay, so instead of the 765, what did you say it was gonna be, Mayor?
It's about 805.
805.
805?
Daniel, can you come up here? And I mean, I'm sure that some of the council members have some questions on that you might be able to answer. And I know we have our billing staff clerk here, Angela. And Miss Angela, I know that since I came into office, you and I kind of talked about how long it takes to process. And if you could just share with us how this would help you, do your job. I mean, I think the council, being that they don't get a chance to sit there with you on a daily basis, it'd be good for them to kind of understand how this is going to help.
Then I might suggest she go first to talk about the way things are, and he can talk about the way things are
Will
going.
be. Could you please, Miss Angela? No, ma'am, you can talk from there. I know.
And at your places, you have a single sheet that is an updated sheet from what was in your packet last week. Again, to reflect.
Let's just
some
get
of the
this out
final
of the way,
changes.
approve it.
We have to approve the project first, then go on to the resolution, so.
This is, oh, I thought it was.
Ma'am?
Right now, it's taking about 2 to 3 days just to do the meter readings because the system itself needs to be updated and have 2 meter reading system needs to be updated. And then once we get that, I input it into the computer. Well, half of the 200, as of this last month, it was 260. We're up to 260 dead meters.
260?
260.
Can you tell us a little bit what that means, a dead meter?
It doesn't read, and when I send the guys out, there's nothing there, so I have to estimate the meter. So we're either getting a high reading or a low reading.
So somebody could potentially fill their swimming pool up.
And,
And we wouldn't be.
it's been done.
Ms. Becky, you had something?
I was just gonna ask about the interest rate, but I know that even when I was working with Angela, the ones that had to be reread did not show anything. It was just horrible. It just takes a lot of time because usually you have to go back for 6 months and then average it.
And then the ones that aren't dead, that are not reading, I have to send the guys out to go get a
Right.
physical reading. So that takes another day and a half to get that. And then when they come back with that report, I add more dead meters to the thing because they're dead.
Yeah,
So
because we fill out the re-list and they're dead.
It's really
Basically, they have a battery life of up to 10 to 15 years, and so they basically go out, you know, it's unfortunate, but another thing is the meters that we have, you can swap them out, it's like a little pin that holds it. These are all built in, so we, you know, potential like hazardous condition, I mean, no one can tamper with it.
we won't have the meter leaks at the base that don't get called out for all the time.
Yeah, like 75%, I would say. That's just, you know, off the top of my brain, it's not, you know, to the dot, but majority of our water leaks come from heat races, so, yeah.
And I do remember having a conversation with you, Ms. Angela, about that we were due for a software update, but they're not gonna distribute a software update on the system that we have right now. We were supposed to have a software update this year, correct? But they're not gonna have one. So we're gonna have to either live with the existing system as is or move forward.
And Bobby has trouble with it all the time. That's why it takes 2 to 3 days to do it, because it either freezes or they're not reading or whatever issue he has, so.
That's the laptop, right? The laptop is,
Well, the laptop
the
and
lap-
the system itself.
yeah.
He's-
it's-
And I know, Ms. Becky, you used to do
Yes.
Angela's job at one time, and you had issues even as far back.
Bobby had some problems with his reading too, yeah, a lot of times it didn't, but, yeah, had same problems.
Same
Okay.
problem when she was
And-
there.
and That system was put in 2009, because I was involved in the replacement of all of these that time.
Okay.
So it was good, and then it just
got old.
got worse. Yep, just gets worse.
So, Mr. Daniel, I mean, if we do and get this new system, you could tell us a little bit about how this is going to change our lives.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's kind of two or three basic points to think about is it's going to increase the productivity of city staff. I mean, the guys have shut-offs and turn-ons to do. There's repairs to do. There's landscaping. City staff has any number of things that they're doing that they have to take the time out to go and read your existing meters. As that system ages, I think the number was like 200 now that are failing or have failed. So as that system ages further, that number is going to increase, and that's just going to increase the time and the days that it takes to read your current meters. So making staff inside and outside, because they have access to all the information at their fingertips. The girls in the building department can pull all that. They don't have to send guys to go get reads and dash reads and things like that. So it increases productivity from the outside personnel and the girls inside. It also helps with customer service, because anytime your end users have a question on their usage, it's a quick phone call, it's a quick visit to the office, and the girls can pull all that information and advise them what they have going on. Any leaks are going to be caught right away versus 30 to 45 days later. That'll keep the city from forgiving water bills or having the citizens have to go on a payment program or pay a big bill because then you can't set water date for 30 days or 45 days. So it's, you know, it kind of, there's a little bit of financial pain at the beginning, but in the long run, you know, it's going to save people time and heartache and headache and just make the city staff more productive and better customer service to the end user.
So I understand that we'll be able to cut, if we do have a meter shut off that we need to do, that can be done electronically?
That is a separate, that's a separate product. So we can supply that product, but that's a separate product.
Can that be added later on?
Yes,
if we-
that can be added later on because
Is it a software or a hardware?
it's a hardware
So
product.
it's another trip to the home.
Is most of the cost, but there is a little bit of annual software issue to it. And that's only because you usually have, when you shut off, you know, for non-payment, it's usually kind of the same customers, you know, month after month that struggle to make their monthly payments. So if you outfitted the entire city with shut-off valves, that's gonna double the price of a meter project.
Okay,
So-
but there is a,
But it is possible, yes, to do that,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, and we have those products throughout the Metroplex and throughout the state of Texas.
And then we can single up that certain meter and put it in
Yes.
for that meter only, and then they can work on it at the office, correct?
Correct, yes.
If it's a problem meter.
They can shut it off from the office and turn it on from the office. It also throttles. So if you have someone with an insulin machine or a breathing machine or something that they need water, you can throttle it down to where they have access to water to run that life-saving equipment or health equipment, but not totally have enough water to, you know, go about their day. So there is also a safety factor, you know, built into it.
Okay. Now the system, will our crew still need to go out there on the field to read the meters like we do now, or will it be an electronic system that will just?
No, the information is going to get collected at the base station at your water tower, and all the information is going to go straight to the billing office. So your
Okay.
guys aren't going to have to drive around. They're not going to have to look for it. I mean, it's like anything else. There's maintenance involved throughout the years.
Right.
You know, the staff can run a non-read report if a meter goes down for whatever reason, the radio's out, it gets vandalized or whatever. You know, the meter's not reading. The guys will have to go and visit the meter pit and, you know, see what's going on. But that's just weekly, monthly, yearly maintenance that every system requires.
Let me,
So
I
it doesn't-
have another question as far as some of our meters still have the old concrete box and covers to them. And is that going to be an issue with that meter sending the signal? Do we need to start looking at replacing the covers to plastic covers or?
Plastic covers it's not officially a requirement, but it is strongly suggested to go to plastic covers. Now,
Okay.
if there are meter boxes that are in driveways that have to have a metal lid, or they have an existing concrete box that just can't be changed out, you can use a wired unit because these meters are wireless. That's another kind of good thing about the meters is the radio's inside the actual meter. So you don't have wires coming out of it.
Okay.
If we need to have in that instance where, you know, you have to go through the lid, there is a wired option for it. And it's the same price as.
Jerry, do we have any meters that are in driveways or anything? I mean, are most in the,
Not necessarily. I mean, there's a couple of them.
but they're in the front yard, like in the,
Yeah, there's some next to driveways and stuff like that, but not very.
not where a car is going to be driving over.
Well, and
then-
they do make traffic rated plastic lids as well.
Okay.
So that is a possibility. Yes, sir.
Then how about total electrical failure in the city? Hurricane, no electric, but those things still work.
Yes. So with that
30
package,
days.
with that package, it includes a what they call a drive-by unit, kind of like the read unit the city has now. So when let's say hurricane comes through, power gets lost at your base station, those meters automatically revert back to AMR, to drive-by mode. So if you have to get that read, you know, before that power is brought back up, the guys can do what they're doing now, go through the city, pick up those reads, get them in a billing. As soon as power is restored to that base station, they will migrate automatically back up to the base station. And
But
you
the
don't,
meters, they work just with pressure, correct? Those are pressure meters? Like I said, they're not
They're
electric,
not mechanical.
they're not mechanical. It's all
no,
pressure.
yeah, they're all ultrasonic. Yeah, so they have internal batteries.
What is life of the battery?
It's a 20-year warranty,
Okay.
so 10-year full replacement,
Okay.
10-year prorated.
Okay.
Um,
See, anybody have any other,
I
any
have
other?
financial questions, but
Well,
you
we're
talked
gonna-
about, you talked about the resolution, but in the resolution, it says that we're entering a contract, a finance contract.
Well,
We're doing
With
this,
him.
we're doing this one, right?
right, that will be next,
Let's-
in item
let's
1.
let him finish talking about the system, and we'll talk about the difference between the contract with the vendor providing the materials and the vendor providing the financing.
Any other questions for HydroPro? Ms. Yolanda? I mean, I think it's, I mean,
These two are the same, right?
yes, this is the
This is
updated
the
one.
updated one.
Yes,
I was going
yes.
like,
Uh,
oh, okay, because I was going like, okay, which is,
your station, you would have said like 3 pages.
okay, okay, now, I don't know.
So, if we don't have any other questions, yes, ma'am.
Will this information be available on the website?
Yes, ma'am.
So we can look at it?
So,
Because right now it sounds like rolling. You know, you're going back and forth with numbers.
Right, no, I understand.
understand a lot of it, but there's still.
I don't know that we'll put it on the website necessarily, but anyone who wants to do open records request, we can give them all the information.
I'll do it.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that if, I mean, if obviously we'll talk to Epi,
Yes.
if we can put it on the website,
Sure.
but since
Sure.
if it's,
Yes.
since it is a project, we can put if he says it's okay, we'll put it out there. I
Sure.
mean, there's no reason why.
Right.
It's
It's all public information.
Yeah. Makes
Yeah,
I
sense.
just
we got
wasn't- I just
like a
wasn't
file
sure.
that we could download it for the people out, do you have a file that you give him for residents?
with the different.
Yeah, something like this, yeah.
Yes.
We have all that
Yeah,
digital
Yeah,
copies, so we
I-
can put the PDFs online.
yeah,
Oh,
I-
okay, okay.
Yeah, we can put that.
yeah, there's cut sheets and spec sheets and kind of show you how it works, how the customer portal works. Where customers can get in on their cell phones or home computers, look at their current usage, compare it to past usage.
Would they be able to, I mean, because I know when I'm looking at a lot of numbers, I don't always understand them, but if you show me a graph,
There are graphs. There's even a little, it's a glass of water, and you can have the different levels of water. I think there should be in that packet that I sent.
'cause I mean, if I have a visual, I'm much better than if I'm looking on my phone and it's telling me all these
Sure.
numbers,
Right.
it's just not going to make a whole lot of sense to me. But if I have a visual showing that January, I used a little bit more water
Right.
than,
And it is flexible. You can kind of navigate it the way you want to. If you want to get just hard numbers or you want to use graphs and charts, yeah,
Okay.
it's customizable.
So you go visit a customer, you install one of these meters, and you notice and you identify that there's no backflow valve, what are you gonna do?
The backflow valve is basically up to the city because some cities.
Is it only required?
Yeah, well, they're gonna look into that, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna look at,
And it hasn't been implemented, so if it does, it needs to be, I know we talked about it last meeting and stuff, and I have been, keeping record of it, but, yeah, I mean, it's just something that,
Yeah, that's-
you need to make sure.
So that's.
okay, see, I mean, that's a lot easier for me to understand
Sure.
than, hard numbers. So,
Yeah, and our eyesight's not as good as it used to be. So yeah, anything in color is a lot easier.
well, I can always zoom in,
Yeah.
but I won't understand it no matter how much I zoom in, but that I can understand. So that makes it much easier. Well, that's great. So any other questions?
Yeah, in the meters, they can go to that, like, basically you can go by day, you can go by hours, right? And probably to the minute or on the.
Yeah, you can check your usage. You can go back 90 days and see, what you've done, up to 15-minute intervals. So if someone has an unusually high consumption and they want to see what's going on, the girls from the office, again, right now, your guys have to go and physically
Yeah.
go to the meter, try to get a data log or get the history of it. If you can, if the batteries are failing, you can't do it.
Yeah.
But now the staff in the office can pull that history, from there, give it to the customer while they're in front of them. They can text it to them. They can email it to them. You can see when somebody's sprinklers are turned on. The biggest surprise for everybody is really how much a sprinkler system uses water.
Mhm.
And when you show them, hey, your sprinklers turn on at 3:30 in the morning and they don't shut off till 5, you use X amount of water. It's usually a surprise to customers. Yeah.
I don't know, it's maybe out there. The water hydrants, are they kind of, does it also tie into that?
No.
There's
Water
no,
meters, no, we have a bulk water meter, and so everything that we buy from Sandpack goes off that meter. So
okay,
that would ultimately just affect the bulk charge that we get.
Okay,
we
I just-
charge that we get charged every month, yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yes, sir.
Well, I was just going to perhaps expand upon that. If you have a region of town that goes through a particular series of pipes, and you put a master meter on that pipe, you would then be able to reconcile the consumption to the master meter to determine what sort of leaks you have in that part of town.
That's,
Yeah, it's gotta be like a non-looping system, yeah, because if you got a looping system, then you got water constantly circulating. So we would have to look, I mean, there's some parts of the system that are non-looping, which would be good, like basically in this side of town, it gets fed through the country and comes back this way, I mean, stuff like that, and,
Odem South
But
is not.
6-inch meters are a little expensive.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
Well, and in the software, it's built in where it's got features where you can designate, you can basically draw a rectangle and say, I want to look at just the meters in this neighborhood or this part of town and run reports off of that. So you can get leak reports, you can get consumption reports just off of certain sections. So it's kind of intuitive on the different things that you want to look at, for future growth.
yeah.
If you know the northwest side of town uses X amount of water, in the future, you're gonna have to upgrade, from a 6-inch line, 8-inch line, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So the software has that capability to do that.
Yeah, Mr. that'd be amazing if we could figure that out, yeah.
Work
Then
on
that'd be-
work on your capital budget.
That'd be ideal, but.
So if we don't have any other questions, I think we need to, we have a motion to approve a citywide remote meter project by Councilman Falcon and second by Councilman Dominguez. If there's no more discussion, we can move forward with the vote to approve this project. Place 2, place 3,
Yes.
and place 4.
Yes.
So the motion to move forward with a remote meter project is approved. Now we're going to move on to the resolution provided by the financier. Dan, thank you so much, Daniel. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Item 1 under A1, a resolution provided by Government Capital Corporation regarding a contract for the purpose of financing the citywide meter replacement program. Do I have a motion?
Which did we pass?
Phase 1.
We moved past phase 1, and we got to do approve the resolution now for the financing.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for finance and for Gamble.
So I have
Government practical.
a motion by Councilman Falcon. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Alvaro to approve the resolution provided by Government Capital regarding a contract for the purpose of financing a citywide meter replacement program. And I'm going to read the resolution. Do we have a copy of it that we can maybe put up there?
Yes, sir. Actually, for the middle one, yes.
On the agenda, it doesn't say anything on here about the resolution.
It's A1.
A1. We did pay first. Now we're moving on to item A1. So the resolution regarding a contract for the purpose of financing reads as follows. Whereas the city of Odem, the issuer, desires to enter into that certain finance contract by and between the issuer the City of Odem, and Government Capital Corporation for the purpose of financing meters. The issuer, the City of Odem, desires to designate this finance contract as a qualified tax exemption obligation of the issuer for the purpose of Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Now, therefore, be it resolved by City of Odem, Section 1 reads that the issuer, which is the City of Odem, will enter into a finance contract with GCC for the purpose of financing meters. Section 2, that the finance contract by and between the City of Odem and Government Capital is designated by the issuer as a qualified tax exempt obligation for the purpose of Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. Section 3, that the issuer appoints the mayor or designee as the authorized signer of the finance contract by and between the City of Odem and Government Capital, as well as any other ancillary exhibit, certificate, or documentation needed for the contract. Section 4, the issuer will use loan proceeds for reimbursement of expenditures related to the property within the meaning of Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 as promulgated under the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended. This resolution, this is it. Once it passes, this resolution has passed upon motion by Councilman. At this point, we just want to go over any discussion. We'll move on to the discussion. As far as the financing goes, do y'all have any questions? Mr. Bain, do you want to kind of go over the financing a little bit?
That 7.3 seems high, man.
It is.
For
It
200,
is.
for
It is.
giving them
I was on the phone.
200,000 up front at signing. And that just seems high.
It is not your imagination. It is high. In fact, when I said, well, wait a minute, this is annual payments. Can we go to quarterly? They said, yes, you can, but it'll raise the rates even higher.
It's not having the audits.
No.
It is all directly related to not having your annual financial reports. I did visit at length with the Texas Water Development Board as well as the Texas Rural Water Association to try and find grants and things of that nature. And you don't get to first base without your annual financial reports. So,
And according to this, even if you increase to 200,000, your rate stays the same.
I'm sorry, increase the two.
I mean, because don't you have, if you pay them more money than 200,000, if you give them more, it's still gonna stay the same, right?
No, sir, there is, early payments are allowed for discounting. In other words, if you, after year 2, want to pay it off, you can pay it off and avoid that interest. But the way this deal has been structured, number one, they want to know that the city has some skin in the game, and that's where the $200,000 down payment comes from. You currently have within this year's financial budgets an unspent amount for utility maintenance and improvements, which exceeds 200,000.
How much is in there?
It's like,
Well, it's budgeted at 430, and I think you've spent 175 or 200.
right, so about 3, some change.
And so within the second page of the one handout, you'll see loan number 1. Loan number 1, which is going to be used to buy most of the meters. That's all that's going to happen with that phase. But the numbers kind of work out well because the financing that's for the small ticket program that's being offered by GovCap has a $200,000 per calendar year limit. So with the down payment of 200 plus the loan of this year, 2024, you have $400,000, which will be placed into an escrow account and which will be paid to the vendors upon the vendor certification of having acquired the meters, and then it'll be signed off by a representative of the city, and the escrow agent will release those funds to the vendor. In January, because it's the next calendar year, and there's another small ticket program available, there will be $200,000 available, which is here as loan number 2. That is basically where the money is going to come from for the base station, or is it installation?
It would be the installation of all the residential meters, as well as the upfront costs that you need to start reading your software, your billing integration to Encode, the read unit, the temporary read and drive-by mode until phase 3, when we can install the infrastructure.
Phase 3 will have the base station, the collecting devices, make it truly a remote system.
And HydroPro, you guys have worked with government capital?
Yes, we do a government capital all the time.
Okay, and they deal with a lot of cities that are in the same situation that we're in, correct?
It just, we don't have control over the financing, but because we have a working relationship, the transfer of information and files and, documentation is a smooth process with government capital.
Okay, so you've never had any problems with, since this is going to go into escrow, you've never had any problems, collecting, from government capital. I don't, being that we're not going to be in control of the situation. I mean, I'm always kind of a little nervous when we don't have control. You've never had any issues with anything like that as far as government? Okay.
There is a risk as to financing that third section. We have visited with regards to the master service agreement with HydroPro, and they have agreed to make that agreement subject to the financing from GovCap. So in that sense, they are interrelated with one another, although the meter vendor and the financing vendor are indeed separate.
So when we get to phase 3, where are we going to be as far as what kind of money?
Meters in place available for drive-by collection. Ms. Angela will still be sending out monthly bills.
But where will we be as far as financing? What will we need to finance? What's going to be the amount that we'll need
As
to?
of phase 2, the payments will be $97,000 on an annualized basis. Your budget for this next year includes $120,000.
But what's that 400,000?
That 400,000.
Right next
Those
to
are the loan proceeds.
the one to the left of,
This 400,000.
yes, sir. So that'll be the loan.
That's the
proceeds.
loan from number 1 of 200, which when added to the down payment makes for the 400,000 to buy the meters. So you have 2 loan payments, one for the first 200,000, one for the second 200,000, which total $97,000.
When does the second one have to be paid?
It'll also be paid approximately the same time, with the first payment being in October of 25, 9 months.
Paul, do you get the breakdown?
Well, why does it say 1/15/2025?
That's when the loan proceeds are received.
Yeah, they work on a calendar, and we work off the fiscal, so it actually worked to our advantage that we can overlap, because it's only, the small ticket is only 200, right? Per year, so we kind of, the timing just worked out in that instance, so we can get 2 separate loans within our
So
own
we'll get
fiscal year.
200,000 for 2024, and then January, since it'll be a new calendar year,
Right.
we'll get another 200,000,
Right.
which we can move on the other phase.
Right.
Which we have 9 months, right?
Right, yeah, and we're not making a payment for a whole year, so we have,
Okay,
Time.
see the way I was reading, I was thinking that we're gonna make one now and then.
yeah, no, all we're paying right now is 200,000 down payment. Then they're gonna give us the 400 to put in escrow, right? And then we're gonna be putting money away through the whole year, and then in October 2025, we make that first payment. And then the intention obviously is to just keep creating contingencies so that we can supplement what we're doing and hopefully pay it off a little sooner.
Mhm.
This financing agreement requires the city to set aside on a monthly basis to make that annual payment.
And that's in the budget, correct? You put that in the budget?
Yes.
It's additionally-
So now you also mentioned that we might be able to get a better rate.
For the
Yeah, we
third
take
phase,
our-
for the third phase.
Right, that conversation really stems on what's gonna happen the next couple of weeks. What I mean by that is, so we've gotten a list from Raul Hernandez about our audits for 22 and 23, okay? So Gabby has been hitting it pretty hard. Mr. Bain has been instrumental in guiding us to get that documentation over to them. Our auditor's also been very helpful. So, we were given a time frame of when the completion of those two audits is. It's a little long in the tooth for us, but we're thinking just because of the history of the timing of the information they got in the past, that might be contributing to it. So we're hoping that once we turn everything over, saying, here you go, what's the calendar now? So we're really got our fingers crossed that we can get that stuff done before we get to phase 3, so that when we do that application, we have a better financial standing, right? And then it's very possible also that we could be eligible for grants with being that much caught up. But I mean, fingers crossed that we can just move a little quicker.
And in the discussions with the Texas Water Development Board representative, he asked if it would be all right, perhaps in November, for him to come and address the city council with regards to what's it gonna take to get back into good graces and be eligible for these programs. Sure. Because they want to help us.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, there's an extra 30% being paid here that you would be getting as a grant.
Yeah.
30% of 900,000 is $300,000.
Well, I think Mr. Wilkes has been really helpful. You came in last year.
Oh, absolutely.
He's been very helpful and very patient with us, and he's helped us through the
Problem is, he's
process.
thinking about retiring. So
Oh,
you wanna get him in here
yeah.
Well, we need to get this done before he retires.
You got the phase 1 in there? Shoes.
Phase 1 is,
I got a couple of questions. Okay,
this is the new phase 1,
okay, back over here.
which is
Scroll up,
just meters.
scroll up. Okay, right here it says software integration. Back.
Uh-huh.
I mean, software training, right? That one, that one.
Your quantities, you got 0. Go ahead.
Oh, so we're not paying for that.
You're not paying for it.
Oh.
But here's the price.
Okay, next one we're paying for it. Phase 2.
Yeah, that's on there.
Okay, and that's, all right.
Did I see you want my job?
It's easy. Your job is easy, man.
He just retired.
I'm
He will-
retired. I'll be there all night.
He is not retired, ladies and gentlemen. He is unemployed.
Okay, that makes sense now. Okay, good.
Okay.
Well, it makes dollars, too.
Right.
Cents and dollars.
And so,
Good.
since you asked, maybe the way to do it is to come here. Here is the original proposal.
Okay.
All right, and that's why part of this process was, wait a minute, Mr. Trevino, you said it was gonna be this. And if I go before you and I say I want this, but in actuality, I have to have that plus a little bit more, as long as we're open and transparent, everybody agrees this project needs to be done.
Is that 3 years?
That's for 3 years?
3 years? 2 years.
Well, it'll be done, but you're paying for it over 6.
Okay.
Now, that raises a question where the HydroPro folks went through and they did an analysis. It's called an economic recovery or
Economic analysis.
economic analysis report, which people like me don't go to the bank with because things never happen exactly that way. But the reality of it is you're going to recover lost money by changing out your meters. If you've got 250 or 260 meters and 6 months ago it was 200 meters, 6 months from now you're gonna have 300 meters, to about 400 meters.
Wow.
Income's gonna go up because readings are more accurate. And people's water bills are gonna be higher because.
One of the things that's gonna be happening as part of this process is coming up with a policy so that your people in the office don't have to feel threatened by the angry people who come in, who now have to pay their process for turning off people's water. You have some customers that exceed $2,000. It should be her responsibility to take the burden of somebody who's hospital angry because their water isn't flowing. There should be a policy statement. You get past a month and a half, 2 months, it's gonna be cut off, and anything after that, it's gonna be up to management and the council to decide. Maybe your manager can work a deal for the first $500, first $1,000, whatever. But at some point, council has to be responsible for saying, you're not gonna get service.
Well, let me just, I know when I first came into office, Ms. Angela, you and I spoke about the dead meters. And at the time, I think you told me there was about 150, 160 meters. So in a year, we've gone, there's 120 more meters that are not working now in just 1 year. And that is just,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot
I'm
of,
thinking was from 5 to 10 a month
that'll die, that are dying out.
that I advertised.
Oh. So we are on, yes, ma'am.
And am I correct, when we have this loan and everything, this will affect our tax rate, our appraisal tax rate, or whatever that we have to do?
This is entirely a revenue generated.
So that has nothing, it won't.
There is no ad valorem.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
I just
Now, I will say that there's an ad valorem lien in the financing agreement.
Oh, oh,
You're not
okay,
gonna
that
go,
makes sense.
you're not gonna go issue any debt until this stuff is taken
I
care of.
understand that. Okay. I just wanted
This is a revenue thing. What are you talking about?
So essentially for the 6 months, so essentially for the 6 months, we can't go, 6 years, excuse me, we can't go out to do bonds and stuff until we pay off the debt. So I make sure
Makes sense.
everyone,
We're good.
okay.
Right.
Oh, that's good.
So we are, this is item A1. Is yet anybody? We had a motion to approve a resolution provided by Government Capital Corporation regarding a contract for the purpose of financing a citywide meter replacement program. And it was second. If there is no other discussion, we can move forward with a vote on this resolution. Place 2, place 3,
Yes.
place 4.
Yes.
So the motion carries. We'll move over to item A2. And I apologize, it's a little confusing, but this is kind of what we were instructed. The steps we needed to take these steps here. Item A2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve a financial agreement with Government Capital Corporation for the purpose of financing a citywide meter replacement program. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion.
The financial agreement.
I have a motion by Councilman Dominguez. I have a second. And a second by Councilman Alvaro to discuss, consider, and take action to approve a financial agreement with Government Capital Corporation for the purpose of financing a citywide meter replacement program. Does anybody have any questions? I think we've kind of gone over everything. So I don't think we need to.
For reference purposes, the scope of the project is approximately $900,000.
So if there's no discussion on A2, we'll move forward with a vote. Place 2?
Yes.
Place 3?
Yes.
Place 4?
Yes.
The motion to approve a financial agreement with Government Capital Corporation for the purpose of financing a citywide meter replacement program carried. Yes, sir.
No, sir. What are we gonna do with all the meters that are pulled? Is there, we bought, like several new meters. I mean, I would imagine at least 25 to 30.
Yeah, refund.
I mean, we're gonna just take them to modules or we scrap them?
Well,
Some of the meters are still good. Like, I'm just thinking like maybe we could, sell it at maybe a neighboring city. Or
Yeah.
something.
if we have meters that are still working and there's other cities that use the same system, I don't see why we can't do some kind of agreement with another city to,
Potentially, create more revenue that way.
Right,
The
we can-
system that we got is to some other people, a blessing.
they may not be in a situation where they can change their meters right now, so we can assist another neighboring community.
They're Neptune, right?
Yeah, they're E900
Through
series.
John,
What does Sinton have?
if through John, he'll buy them back.
Yeah, because John, I just talked to John today.
John will buy them back.
Yeah. He's buying meters.
Okay.
Sinton is, they're 4 years old over there. so-
$300 a meter, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's making money.
Mr. Bain?
John buys them.
It has occurred to me that in my reading of the proposal and the service agreement with HydroPro, are we responsible for all the scrap meters?
That is up to whatever the installer wants to do with the city. What we usually do is just pile them up.
Well, the installer and you have a relationship, and we have a relationship. So between us, who gets the jump?
They're the property of the city. So you tell us where to pile them up, and that's where they pile them up. You can sell them for scrap. Do what
Right.
you do.
Yeah, but the software itself could be sold. Like,
Right.
Because I mean, the base is the base, but the software in that meter is to have life, and ultimately you can make money off of it. It was just a curiosity.
No, that's a good idea. I mean, we'll have to look as we start to move with the new. If we can, as we move forward, we will see, maybe contact some of the other surrounding cities, and see what kind of system they have, and let them know that, we're gonna be moving forward with a new meter program. And
And then there's different models, different types of net 2 meters, so we can be able to distinguish which ones are new and which ones are old. And be able to identify, okay, well, these have a life expectancy of like around this much, for this aside, and we can divide them, I guess.
Okay.
As we get them, so. Yeah, it's definitely, that's what I would do, but it's gonna be 1,500 of them, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Organized pretty good.
Yeah. So we're gonna move to item 3, non-action items. We already swore in the judge. We moved that up forward. Item B, we actually, Daniel, you've already kind of given us your report. Item C, receive a report from the city administrator regarding the recent Encode software training. I know you guys closed the office for a day. I don't know if that's ever happened here in Odem, Ms. Becky. Have we ever had an office closed for the whole day that you can remember?
For a full day.
So,
I had a bunch
so,
of calls.
so you guys better have learned something.
Yeah. Well, the big learns were that we're way behind. We are not utilizing the software to its full potential. And I understand there are components that were never bought. So right now I'm working with Encode to get us
Thank you, Daniel.
an assessment.
Thank you, Daniel.
To get an assessment of what we actually have paid for and what we're actually able to use right now. There's a PO system in there. There's actually a municipal court system in there, PD systems in there. I mean, they just weren't utilized. Right now, we're using a separate software for municipal. So with the help of Judge Morales, who's familiar with the Encode municipal component, we're going to work towards killing FundView and just going exclusively with Encode, which is the way it should have been to begin with. There should have never been a separate funding system for that. That's how one loses track, right? One thing that was that is very important is that we're not on the cloud system. Our current software lies in-house on premise. When I got here to begin with, knowing that everything was on premise freaked me out, because in this day and age, everything is susceptible. And again, cybersecurity came up recently. We talked about that. Luckily, we have coverage for that now. So we did speak to our colleagues in Robstown, and they are still recovering from a crash from 2018. They've spent over $100,000 just trying to recover, and that's because they had their software on premise, so they basically had to rebuild everything.
Well,
So
I think that last year when I came into office, we were looking at our system that we have, and we could not upgrade our system because it was already antiquated. And I think that at the time we saw that it was around 90-something% full. Our in-house hard drive was at like 90% full already, so we really couldn't utilize it. It was slowing down our computers. I think your computer crashed.
5 days, I crashed it in 5 days.
Because it was it slowed down. So
So the first thing is we need to get to the cloud as soon as possible. So we are again working with Robin at Encode, and she's going to give us an assessment, and we'll start talking about what's it going to cost. Now
Do we put that in your budget?
Yes, that'll be an extra. Right. Yes,
Technology
exactly.
and-
Technology upgrades. Yeah. So thank you for that. And then the question came up to, well, why do we want to spend time learning 9 when everyone's at 10, which has more bells and whistles, right? Making it just life a little easier and more efficient. But the problem is there's about a year waiting list for upgrading to 10. So yeah, probably more than that now. But so we will, again, that's just down the line though. But I just want to let you know that this is the stuff we're learning. Staff got a lot of information we got to sit with Robstown and Ingleside and some other our counterparts, but it was a very small group because everyone else was on the other side of the room on 10. So it wasn't really serving us well to learn anything on that side.
So 9 stick in the cloud, right?
What's that? Yes, yes.
9
Well,
stick in the
we're
cloud.
still on 9 now, but we're on premise, but we need, as soon as
Okay,
we
now-
can get everything onto the cloud. That way there is a complete backup there, if anything crashes. So yeah, it was very beneficial. Like I said, we made some good contacts. We are going to be reaching out to other cities to even have Angela go and sit with those individuals, the billing clerks or finance people over in Ingleside and Robstown, just to kind of just get best practices. But overall, I think Mr. Bain gets credit for kind of pushing this program together, because what it did force Encode to do is to show that they had a false start when they really rolled Encode out for a lot of municipalities, and we're one of those groups. So it wasn't. We didn't get the one-on-one that we really got a chance to do because there was just so many questions going on. So I think that we are going to be working on something specific with us, just to have, whether it's virtual or get someone in to come in and train our people directly, because everyone's in different levels of what to do and how to do things. So
And I was gonna say, you can't cover everything in that
Yeah,
one
you
day,
can't.
so there's certainly gonna have to be some follow-up.
Right.
Definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that was what the problem was when we went on general ledger, is that the two people that did the, what you call it?
Implementation.
Implementation of it, it was the way they were gonna do it, and we had no say in it. And then, when it didn't they didn't even reconcile with us. Then, there was no training, none whatsoever. So, I mean, we were just floating by calling customer service.
Well, even when I came into office, we were still calling
I
customers.
know as much as she taught me.
Yeah. And I only knew what I was calling.
And with Mr. Bain in the office, again, his presence has been instrumental in just bettering our practices. He's shown staff just different ways to use the system. In fact, there was something today that what was it, Angela, that Mr. Bain showed us?
General ledger and the revenue and expenses. I didn't know.
Right. So there's just so many components that are there that we just don't know to utilize. But again, Mr. Bain again was instrumental. That's why again when we first brought him in, part of that was hope to keep him on to help us implement the current budget and to make sure that we're doing everything we need to be doing it in code.
Well, I'm glad that you all got a chance to go out there, and that's why I thought it was important that we did budget we put something in the budget to improve technology at City Hall, because I know that last year when I first came in, I was surprised that everything was in-house and that, we couldn't save anything to it because it was almost full. The drive was almost full. And then when we tried to call to see if we could get an upgrade, they said, oh, no, we don't have that system anymore. So we couldn't even get an upgrade on the existing system. And the computers were running really slow. And obviously, when you came in and really went on and started doing a lot of things that needed to be done, it just crashed almost immediately. So,
One other aspect of Encode, which pleasantly, and I might have mentioned this before, was that I wanted to upgrade our timekeeping system, payroll. So Executive Time was a program I was familiar with from a previous job, so I wanted to see it. It was really useful. Employees had access to their own time, so they're not calling the clerk saying, "Hey, where I'm at." They can see their time. Well, it turns out that Tyler Technologies, Encode, owns the same software, and they're integrated. So again, it's almost a perfect relationship where we have a situation where we can again. We can do geofencing. They can clock in a computer on their own. We don't have to dial into a computer out there just to look at their time. They can look at their own time. All the approvals are done digitally, so that's going to save a lot of time for Gabby, who's just scrambling Friday all day just to get payroll up. So again, it's just everything just sort of seems to be lining up, so it's just obviously gonna cost some money to do the upgrades.
I mean, like I said, I mean, little steps, we need to start catching up, and we need to catch up not only with technology, but with training. And, so,
And we're doing, direct deposit for the books.
Actually, that is something Gabby and I were talking about, just this week, that we were gonna experiment first with the council's, check. You know, just to test it, you know.
I like that.
So, you know,
My wife gives my check.
because it's a, you know, it's a straightforward amount, right? So if there's any kind of mistake, at least we can fix it, but ultimately we can fix it, but that's the first step. I need to, I was gonna, we started to talk with First Bank of Odem. They had a system, and then I think with time just lagging, their not their software, but the way they're gonna do direct deposit changed. And there's a little cost to it, but I think that I have to just assess it one more time just to say, you know, see if it's minimal, you know, for efficiency's sake. But yes, I would like to make direct deposit mandatory, because it's going to save a lot of time. Generating one check, you know, I mean, we're honestly probably like 30, $40 just to generate a check. I mean, that's, you know, so we can eliminate that too.
thank you. We'll move on to item D. Just an update with the water improvement project out by the water storage facility. Do you have those photos?
They were out there Saturday, they finished?
No, they're not finished yet. They still got a few things to do. They were out there. I think there was an issue with Sampat water. The tanks were overflowing because it was an electrical issue. So we had to get Sampat out here. Can you explain exactly? I mean,
Yeah, so the contractor, he hit a communication wire for the SCADA system. Basically, it's on a pressurized system, so you get 0.433 per foot. So basically, once it hits, drops to a certain level, it communicates to the SCADA to the control room, and Pat basically able to articulate, hey, something's going on. So I got a call, and I was going to the emergency room to see my daughter, and it kind of happened real quick. And I got a call saying that there was water overflowing in the ground storage. I'm like, what's going on? You know? So I went over there, and he told me what happened. I got a call from Santa. I was already there addressing the issue. I told him what happened. They had a crew en route. So basically lost communication, so the valve stayed open. So it just essentially overflowed. So that tank that you see right there on the south side, they already piped it and plumbed everything in. It's already all basically essentially both valves is isolated. So it's already tied in. So what Sampat's gonna do is they're gonna throw their SCADA system in that tank on the south end. And we're gonna be essentially, that one right there all the way to your right, basically gonna be piggybacking off of that tank while the other two are gonna be tied in.
tied in.
So there's a shutoff valve that is gonna be in place. So whenever we can be running on one tank and then they'll tie in the other two. And then it'd be as simple as just opening a valve at that point once everything's tied in. So what they're gonna do is they already did all the piping, doing that tie-in that I was just talking about. And the gentleman, his name's Raymond, and he's a pretty stout individual, and he's a go-getter. And I mean, every time we run into some problems, he called me, hey, this is going on, hit it right in the head. So, but I'm very, blessed and honored I'm being a part of this, because I mean, whenever I first got here, I was kind of skeptical of even coming here just by looking at the plan and stuff. And I know Sal was really big on, along with you, sir, and the council, about wanting to, provide better services for the public, because ultimately, if someone sees that, I mean, come on, we're held to a standard, right? Odem is, not saying anything bad about any other municipality, but, I mean, I feel, this is gonna be really good to show the public, considering what they've seen already on the news and everything.
Well, I can say that, I mean, if you could go to the actual system there, this system is all, came already all put together. They didn't have to come out here. It was transported over here on a trailer. They downloaded it onto the pad there. It's 3 brand new horizontal pumps. What is it horizontal? Which those pumps? What's the no, like the flow, the rate?
GPM?
Yes, GPM.
Grounds permit, they're rated at around 470 to 520, so around 500.
So about 500.
Yeah,
so
they got it around the same what we're pumping right now with that.
Right.
Turbine. Yeah.
And the way the system's going to be set up there, and my understanding that once if there's like a high use during the afternoons or something, if there's a high use and pressure, we need to kind of get more water flowing, the pumps will alternate automatically.
Correct, yeah, so you guys can get a system at the water tower as well, so, you're communicating with what you got in your tanks and what you got in your elevated storage tank, and as it drops, it'll basically differentiate what the demand needs to meet.
Right.
And so the SCADA system is basically providing the information, hey, we're not keeping up, it's basically like communicating back and forth, hey, the level's low, kick on the second pump. And so, I talked to the electrician today, there is an issue with it, we got 240 three-phase on our transformers coming in, and that's rated for 480, the pumps are. So, so we're working with the electricians right now, and we're gonna get that, with the contractors and everything, we're gonna get that issue addressed, but as far as everything, I mean, it's been going at a really rocket pace, I mean, I'm very blessed, like I said, I mean, it's kind of a little emotional, seeing all that, I grew up here, a little kid and stuff, and, seeing people in town, and just little things like that. I mean, this is a huge project, and like I said, I'm very honored.
Upgrading.
Well, I mean.
And all this all this is coming out of ARPA funds.
Right.
So it's not, the city isn't necessarily, we are gonna be on the hook for about $9,000, when it's all said and done, but I think this is tremendous.
American Rescue Plan.
Oh, okay. It's coming.
The American Rescue so it's not coming out of the city's funds, so, other than the 9,000.
And if I could just, I mean, Jerry has been instrumental also in monitoring this for us. Like I said, I'm spread so thin, but he's kept me up to date with lots of stuff. And
Oh, he's been sending me pictures
Okay,
and
great, yeah,
messages, and
Yes,
so
yeah.
he keeps. So,
Then you get nosy people.
So-
Then you get nosy people like me showing up like, who's this dude?
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing left to do.
But yeah, that system's already, essentially everything is already set package. I mean, it's got a vibrations test, pump alignment, pump to motor alignment. I mean, they're in suction pumps, 500 gallons a minute. I mean, they're.
So Jerry, that thing is actually working. Those pumps are actually, 3 pumps ain't working yet, right?
Not yet.
No, so the piping's already there, so.
Oh, the
once we
piping
get
only,
power-
okay.
Once we get power to that control
Okay,
panel,
that's what, yeah.
we're basically Sept needs to throw in all their communications and.
Okay,
tank, and
okay,
so we
okay.
can tie another two, yes, sir.
That's where you need that.
And so what's the Sampat flow rate?
You're saying by GPM, about 500 gallons a minute to our ground storage.
And so how long did the leak happen, and are you sending a bill to the contractor?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I did. So, yeah, so it was 512 gallons per minute times the 45 minutes. It came out to, I think 22,050, somewhere 22 to 23,000. I don't remember the exact number. But it came out to like $500.
Yeah, about
Yeah, I
$525.
I talked to somebody about that. He
Where's-
goes, make sure you charge the contractor.
Yeah, I was already there right down the time. I was already there.
And Angela was also helping us with all that too. And I want to recognize Angela as well for a lot of the work she's doing. She's a one-person show for what should be about maybe 2 or 3 people.
What was the completion date for this?
They said, I think December, maybe early January, but I don't know. It feels like we're moving a little quicker.
No, I mean, yeah,
I feel like
the
we're-
gentleman that's doing this project is, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, he's been a go-getter. I mean, I can't say nothing bad about him.
I think the only issue we'll probably have is on the electrical side, and then the county getting the SCADA tied in and all that, because the county works on county time,
Correct.
so.
So once we get power and the Sampat throws on their communications in that one tank, we'll essentially be running a brand new system until we get the other tanks tied in.
We'll
And-
probably need to go and looking at some sort of like metal building, maybe something just real simple just to cover it because,
Yeah.
ideally that electrical system should, would have been, in the building that's there already, but this is how it was designed.
Throw a little one like.
So-
Yeah, I think, like a little portable building or something
And
over
it's
it.
weatherproof and I mean, it is.
But still, let's keep it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it needs to be in an enclosure, but with a roof that could be taken apart with a crane on the outside. So if anybody needs to come and pull a pump or any maintenance, there's a crane already there. They're not paying charges for a crane.
Right.
If we need to pull a pump, we can just pull it, do things by ourselves without having like a contractor system.
Well, what this will, and just kind of speaking to the community out there, we have 2 developers right now looking on Turner. They're looking at that property on Turner
Mr. Nick,
and it's how many homes?
I think it was like 150.
About 150 homes on Turner and 3rd Street on the east over here on this. And then I just spoke to another developer that has been meeting with the property owners. What's his name? Skull.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right across the street from the school. I mean, obviously they're outside the city limits, but we might have to work with them to bring them into the city limits, because they will need to connect to the water. But having a system like this, and then we're looking at servicing the above ground storage tank hopefully next year.
Yeah.
We'll have a new meter system in place, hopefully, in a year or two. I mean, there's no reason why Odem can't get, start growing and be able to meet the demand. So,
It certainly falls in line with Mayor, what we learned in Austin, about when we're on the right track, because these are the things that, industry looks for. Large industry or retail industry, they want to know that we have a good infrastructure and that's reliable. So it's definitely going to make us more attractive in the future.
and with the conversation that I had today with the developer that's looking at the property across from the school, they're ready to move forward. I mean, they said the only thing holding us back is making sure that we have access to, obviously, being able to get through Al Square to get material and supplies in, but also access to water and sewer.
Yeah, there's a
So-
12-inch main.
Yeah, that's 12,
and
yeah.
a sewer line,
So, I mean, they've already.
I remember that, Jessica. We were challenged with that too. a couple of years ago.
So they actually called me today saying, hey, this is the only thing that's holding us back right now is having access to the water and sewer. So
Is that the land behind the school?
the field that's across from the elementary school, yeah, that's
Right behind the baseball field.
and the lanes. I think the lanes also own part of it.
When I was doing, I talked to him, he was wanting to annex it in, so.
Well, that's kind of be our goal, is to annex it. And actually, the one on Turner actually is going to have a piece of property that we're going to discuss with them this weekend about giving to the city to build a park out there on that side of town.
That'd bring a lot
So,
more value.
you know,
More interest in-
The one on Turner on Third Street, the 100 and something homes, they're gonna have a piece of property. So that's gonna be left where they're gonna have the, what's that called? The tank, the overflow tank, kind of like to avoid
Retention pond.
retention pond. But there's also gonna be enough space there
Odem
for,
Lake Two.
Remember that? Yeah.
Hey,
remember that?
Odem Lake Two.
There you go.
for a baseball field or even a community park on that side of town, which for some of us that grew up on that side of town, we had to walk to the park. So, yeah, so it'll be fantastic for the kids on that side of town to have a park that they can go to and play and
Development there.
exactly. So I'm excited.
Jerry, how's that SCADA system? We need to upgrade that SCADA system, or do they do that?
No. So that's Pad. So as we buy bulk treated water, that's their technology.
Okay, so-
And so basically we have access at City Hall. I can monitor the lift station. So the lift stations and the wastewater side, that's us. But as far as the SCADA system for the water, it's on Pad, at my knowledge.
Okay.
Now, I know like a ground storage tank, about them moving into our ground storage tank, the one that, like, we're basically gonna bypass the two and they're gonna move it in the tank on the south side. But as far as the SCADA system on the water tower and the lift stations, I would want to say that, that's a good question. And I'd be lying to you if I told you if that's,
We're getting good new technology, might stay up with it,
Right.
especially that SCADA.
but it's working fairly well.
Can you make that enough of it?
Okay. Also, this wasn't on the agenda, but tomorrow's the deadline for anyone that's out there in the community that wants to join the economic development. There is a vacancy.
It was today.
Today?
Today was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's over. It's over. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, today at
Yeah,
midnight?
Yeah, today at midnight.
Today at midnight.
They can
So
e-
you
they can
can
email-
email
They can drop it in the night box, I guess, if they want to deliver an action, or they can email me.
or email. So I appreciate everybody. I appreciate you, everyone, for coming out. I do have a motion to adjourn.
I do.
So I have a motion to adjourn by Councilman Alvaro, second by Councilman Falcon, and we are adjourned.
I do.